Thank you. My name again is Bill Hansel, and this is the Q8 annual data report training. And the topic will specifically be regarding end dating. For those of you that have been working with our data reports throughout the course of the biennium, it will be very similar, in fact, identical to much of what was done in the Q4 annual data report. That training is on our technical assistance webpage, which I am going to paste into the chat right now. Also, I will paste the specific video. Relevant information goes until about the 6-minute and 50-second mark. It is specific, that training, to CI. So if you watch it, treat it like a general, and CI being community investment. If you do watch it and say, specifically, if you're future ready, there will be things that don't apply, like the reporting is not done through SurveyMonkey Apply or SMA or SM Apply, as it may be referred to. And so keep in mind that what you'll take away may be general principles. Great. So I am going to provide a broad overview of the end dating process, and then we'll break into groups that correspond to grant type. Again, the CI will include, or community investment will include, those of you that have promise, solutions, workforce, or violence and gang prevention grants. The other breakout room is for re-engagement, and the final breakout room is for future ready. You will be able to self-select into those breakout rooms at the appropriate time. Please save grant-specific questions for those breakout rooms. That is, questions that are going to get into the weeds are better handled when we have the specific data report relevant to your grant. However, general questions are welcome. And again, thank you for attending. So what makes the Q8 annual data report different? Well, unlike all but the Q4 data report, any active youth are assigned a program end date. What does an active youth mean? Basically, for Q8, an active youth is any year 2 youth, and that means a start date between 6/30/22 and present without an existing program end date. So that is any youth served in year 2 that has not yet received an end date. Assigning an end date is referred to as end dating and requires updating the youth characteristics at program end date section. The end date assigned will be 6/30/23. That's June 30th of this year, which is the end of the biennium, or the date you stopped receiving grant-related services, whichever is first. So if you're running a cohort program and maybe that finished with the school year in early June, you can use a date in early June or May, whatever is appropriate for your program. It doesn't have to be the June 30th date. However, that would be the date if you're operating continual services and those youth are still active, then the June 30, 2023 date is what would be used for the end date. In sum, all active youth, which again are not already end dated, need to be assigned an end date and have their status at end date updated for Q8 reporting. What does this mean? I will take the opportunity to share my screen and show just a few things that hopefully will allow you to make some aha moments if you haven't had those already. Oops, great. I didn't get the rim around the screen that I'm sharing, but hopefully you can see a data report. Can I get a thumbs up from somebody if that, excellent. So here's an example of just really quickly what we mean. Here's the column right here called program end date. This is where end date goes. The program end date column corresponds with the youth characteristics at program end date section, which has two columns, one dealing with educational status and the other with employment status. Similarly, the program start date, it corresponds with the youth characteristics at program start date. And again, these are two columns specifically with education and employment statuses. So if there's a start date, then there should be characteristics that correspond with that start date. And if there's an end date, then it requires filling out the end date characteristics. So that's an important note, just that there's a correspondence between the start date and the characteristics at start, and the end date and the characteristics at program end date. Why end dating? That's a good question. End dating allows analyzing data for each year of the biennium. Specifically, it allows the comparison of youth characteristics at start and at end. It provides the ability to track length of services received and periods of services. It's snapshot data, which is point in time data and has inherent limitations. We understand this. It is specifically, again, a point in time. It doesn't capture things that happen in between those 2 points in time. And we are aware of this and work within those inherent limitations. But in many instances, it will serve as a crude indicator of progress, and especially for educational status, because employment tends to have more periods of perhaps employed, not employed, employed, not employed. School can have the same thing, but generally education has more of a continuation. Year 1, year 2, and biennial data allows the YDO, which is now Youth Development Oregon, that's us, to compile data on youth serve through our grant making to make the case for the importance and effectiveness of your work. It is especially important in demonstrating the need for continued and increased funding. So we use this data at various points in time to make presentations to legislators, to various stakeholder groups, to help inform our strategic development of these grants, to help inform us of what youth are or are not being reached and how to specifically make improvements as we continue this process into a new biennium. We're just about ready to head to breakout rooms, but one thing that's I will throw out as, again, 30,000 foot level, but very important, please do not paste over existing end dates. This is sometimes something that'll happen, is that you will have a data report that has end dates from year 1 or from earlier in year 2. There is no need to paste over, and in fact, it would be not correct to paste over those end dates, say with a broad June 30, and just turn every end date into June 30, 2023. So only assign end dates to a blank cell in the end date column. Also broadly, generally, there's no reason to paste over the entire data report. On occasion, there is the need for spot specific updates, like if a row got dropped down and you want to transfer it back up. There are instances where those type of corrections make sense. But let's say you're serving 100 youth, there's no reason to just run a new report from your internal data system, perhaps, and then paste over all 100 rows in the existing data report. So just general rule of thumb, if you're thinking about pasting over 100 rows or something like that, please reach out to your grant manager before you do that. It jeopardizes the integrity of the already collected data or already analyzed data if large scale cut and pasting is done. Typically, just a few pasting into empty rows is the way to do it, or empty cells. All right, I'll pause for a moment here and just see if there are any general questions. Please feel free to put those into the chat or unmute yourself, raise a hand, something like that, if you do have any general questions over anything I've just covered. All right, well, thank you. Let's launch the break.